Hi, I'm Kimberley Rowan with the Tax Department Chartered Accountants Ireland. We are delighted to launch the new enhanced version of TaxSource, Chartered Accountants Ireland, reliable, searchable and cost-effective facility for the Irish Tax Acts online. TaxSource contains the full text of the Irish Taxes Consolidation Act 1997 and is now updated for Finance Act 2011. This facility is available free of charge to all our members. TaxSource Extra contains the full consolidated text of the Irish Taxes Consolidation Act 1997, the Capital Acquisitions Tax Consolidation Act 2003, the Stamp Duties Consolidation Act 1999, and the new VAT Consolidation Act 2010. TaxSource Extra also includes supplementary legislation and regulations. This facility is a subscription-only service, and members should contact either the Tax Department or Rita Stapleton Ryan for further information on how to subscribe. TaxSource and TaxSource Extra do not need to be installed or require support CD. All you need is access to the internet and your username and password. Both are also portable in that they are fully functional on smartphone technology. I would now like to give you a brief demonstration on how easy it is to access TaxSource by using your computer. You start at the Chartered Accountants Ireland homepage. You go to Members, Technical. When you're in the Technical Resource Centre, you find Tax, which is in the left side panel. There's Tax. Once you've clicked on Tax, you're brought to the Tax Centre and you're given the options under Tax. You click on TaxSource and TaxSource Extra. This brings you to the TaxSource and TaxSource Extra landing page. Now you'll see here there's TaxSource, which is the free service for all our members, and there's TaxSource Extra, which is the subscription service, and that has the fully consolidated version of the various acts. Now, in order to access TaxSource Extra, you need to go down here to Already a Subscriber. You click on Log into the service here, and you enter your username and password, and click Log in. This will then bring you to the TaxSource landing page. So as you can see here, we're in TaxSource, and we can see the Taxes Consolidation Act, the Stamp Duties Consolidation Act, the Capital Acquisition Tax Consolidation Act, the Value Added Tax Consolidation Act 2010, and then some additional supplementary legislation and regulations. So in order to access a specific section of the Taxes Consolidation Act, you click into the Act and you'll see that each of the sections are broken down into different groups. They're going from 1 to 1104, and then you have the schedule belonging to the Taxes Consolidation Act 1997. So for an example, I'll show you how you would access Section 112 of the legislation. You click into sections 100 to 199, and again you'll see they're further subdivided into sections of 10. In 112 you click into sections 110 to 119, and here you'll see the list of all those sections between section 110 and section 119. So you click on section 112 and it brings you into the full text of that section. Now, it's important to identify on the left hand side there's a Select View panel. What this is it shows you the current view as section 112 is currently at for the Finance Act 2011. You can go down through each of the acts and identify the changes made by all of the acts since 1997. So the current view, as I said, is the view as of the recent Finance Act, being Finance Act 2011. If you want to look at the changes made to Section 112 by the various Finance Acts since 1997, you click on Change History, and here the colours will identify that changes have been made, and here we can see that there was a substitution by Finance Act 2001. There was no specific changes to Section 112 by Finance Act 2011. If we look at another section where there has been substantial changes by various acts throughout the years, we will be able to see them listed. So for an example, I will go back and select Section 118. So from here we can see that there has been a change made by the most recent act, being Finance Act 2011. Again, if you click on Change History, it will show you where there has been changes made throughout the course of the years. And at the very bottom, it'll show you the various acts that have made changes to Section 118 since 1997. So here we can see Finance Act 1999, 2004, and so on up until Finance Act 2011 being the current Finance Act. To go back to the current view, you simply click back onto Current. If you want to see the changes made specifically by Finance Act 2011 only and not changes made by other acts, you click on Finance Act 2011, which is highlighted here, and it will show you only the changes made to this section by Finance Act 2011, as of here, and it will detail it down in the amendment footnote at the bottom. Also, it's worth to note in the view, we can also highlight definitions only, so definitions that feature within section 118 are highlighted. For example, approved transport provider is highlighted here. If you want to highlight numbers only, you just simply click on numbers and all the numbers within this section will be highlighted. Another point to note within TaxSource Extra is what we call nodes that feature across the top. These provide some further information relevant to this section. For example, we have revenue notes for guidance, we may have revenue e-briefs, revenue precedents, and also case law appropriate to this section. So for each section where there is appropriate supplementary content, it will be highlighted across the top in these nodes. Also, the first node details all other sections that are linked to this section. So if I click on the links, you'll see there is links to other acts and other sections within the Taxes Consolidation Act which can be accessed from clicking from here. So I'm now back into section 112, which is a link section to section 118. In order to move through the sections, you can go back and select it from this category of sections, or you can go back into the main Tax Consolidation Act 1997 landing page. Or if you want to select a section from a different act, you go back to the TaxSource main landing page and you select the section from the act as relevant. If you are in a section, for example, section 1, if you would like to move to section 2, 3 and so on, you can use the buttons up here, next, which will bring you to the subsequent section. You can go back by hitting previous. Again, if you want to go back to a completely different section that does not fall within section 1 to section 9, you can go back here, which gives you the sections from 1 to 99, and likewise back to the main Tax Consolidation Act 1997 landing page. The other acts featured in TaxSource Extra can be navigated in a similar way. So for example, if we click on the Capital Acquisitions Tax Consolidation Act 2003, you will again see that the sections are divided. You click in further and the sections are further subdivided. So for example, if you want to access section 10, you click on section 10 to 19, and there is section 10. Maybe don't say there is section 10. Similarly, you can move between the sections by using the arrow buttons next and previous at the top, or alternatively flick back into the main landing page. Another feature on TaxSource Extra is the ability to search all the various acts, supplementary legislation and regulations featured within. In order to search the content within TaxSource Extra, you go up to the submit box and type in your search query. So for example, if we were looking for section 118, we would simply type section 118 and hit submit. Then the search display results are provided. You can further refine your search by clicking on the sublinks to the right-hand screen. TaxSource is a free service for all members, whereas TaxSource Extra is a subscription service only. TaxSource Extra is enhanced in that it includes the full consolidated version of the 4 Taxes Act. In order to subscribe to TaxSource Extra, you click on the link to subscribe to TaxSource Extra. This will bring you to the Chartered Accountants Ireland shop page. You can purchase a 1-user license, or you can purchase multiple user license. To purchase a 1-user license, you select single user license and you click on Buy Now. To navigate TaxSource rather than TaxSource Extra, it follows a similar format. However, as I explained, TaxSource only includes the Taxes Consolidation Act 1997. But again, like as for TaxSource Extra, the sections are divided. If you want to access section 112, you click into sections 100 to 199. You further click into here, and again you select section 112. The screen is presented as was for TaxSource Extra, and you navigate it in the same fashion as you would for TaxSource Extra.